reference to earthly creatures, refer to that which is material, tangible, visible, and mortal. The New Catholic Encyclopedia says, "NEPS fish is a term of far greater extension than our soul, signifying life x 21.23. DT 19.21 and its various vital manifestations. Breathing GN 35.18. JB 41.13, blood GN 9.4. DT 12.23. PS 140,141.8, Desire 2 SM 3.21. PRV 23.2. The soul in the Old Testament means not a part of man, but the whole man. Man is a living being. Similarly, in the New Testament it signifies human life. The life of an individual, conscious subject Mount 2.20. 6.25. LK 12.22-23. 14.26. JN 10.11, 15, 17. 13.37. 1967, Volume 13, p. 467. The Roman Catholic Translation, the New American Bible, in its Glossary of Biblical Theology Terms pages 27, 28, says, in the New Testament, to save one's soul Mk 8. 35 does not mean to save some spiritual part of man, as opposed to his body in the Platonic sense, but the whole person with emphasis on the fact that the person is living, desiring, loving and willing, etc. in addition to being concrete and physical. Edition published by P. J. Kennedy and Sons, O Texto e Acute Muritra Longo, Sol 1005 through a Metamorphoses, changing from caterpillar to winged creature. Liddell and Scott's Greek English Lexicon, revised by H. Jones, 1968, pages 2026, 2027. Donegan's New Greek and English Lexicon, 1836, p. 1404. The ancient Greek writers applied c-middle.khe in various ways and were not consistent, their personal and religious philosophies influencing their use of the term. At Plato, to whose philosophy the common ideas about the English soul may be attributed as is generally acknowledged, it is stated. While he sometimes speaks of one of the alleged three parts of the soul, the intelligible, as necessarily immortal, while the other two parts are mortal, he also speaks as if there were two souls in one body, one immortal and divine, the other mortal. The Evangelical Quarterly, London, 1931, Volume 3, p. 121, Thoughts on the Tripartite Theory of Human Nature, by A. McCaig. In view of such inconsistency in non-biblical writings, it is essential to let the scriptures speak for themselves, showing what the inspired writers meant by their use of the term c-middle.khe, as well as by any fish. Any fish occurs 754 times in the Masoretic text of the Hebrew Scriptures, while c-middle.khe appears by itself 102 times in the Westcott and Dort text of the Christian Greek Scriptures, giving a total of 856 occurrences. CNW Appendix, p. 1573. This frequency of occurrence makes possible a clear concept of the sense that these terms conveyed to the minds of the inspired Bible writers and the sense their writings should convey to our mind. An examination shows that, while the sense of these terms is broad, with different shades of meaning, among the Bible writers there was no inconsistency, confusion, or disharmony as to man's nature, as existed among the Grecian philosophers of the so-called classical period. Earth's first souls. The initial occurrences of any fish are found at Genesis 1. 20-23. On the fifth creative day God said, "Let the waters swarm forth a swarm of living souls any fish, and let flying creatures fly over the earth." And God proceeded to create the great sea monsters and every living soul any fish that moves about, which the waters swarmed forth according to their kinds, and every winged flying creature according to its kind. Similarly on the sixth creative day any fish is applied to the domestic animal and moving animal and wild beast of the earth as living souls. Ge 1. 24. After man's creation, God's instruction to him again used the term any fish with regard to the animal creation, everything moving upon the earth in which there is life as a soul literally, in which there is living soul any fish. Ge 1. 30 other examples of animals being so designated are found at Genesis 2. 19. 9. 10-16. Leviticus 11. 10, 46. 24. 18. Numbers 31. 28. Ezekiel 47. 9. Notably, the Christian Greek scriptures coincide in applying the Greek *khe to animals, as at Revelation 8. 9. 16. 3, where it is used of creatures in the sea. Thus, the scriptures clearly show that any fish and *khe are used to designate the animal creation lower than man. The same terms apply to man. The human soul. Precisely the same Hebrew phrase used of the animal creation, namely, Nephesh *ya living soul, is applied to Adam, when, after God formed man out of dust from the ground and blew into his nostrils the breath of life, the man came to be a living soul. Ge 2. 7 Man was distinct from the animal creation, but that distinction was not because he was a fish soul and they were not. Rather, the record shows that it was because man alone was created in God's image. Ge 1. 26, 27 He was created with moral qualities like those of God, with power and wisdom far superior to the animals. Hence he could have in subjection all the lower forms of creature life. Ge 1. 26, 28 Man's organism was more complex, as well as more versatile, than that of the Otextoi acute Miritra Longo. Soul 1006 He did not have a soul as something immaterial, invisible, and intangible residing inside him. The Apostle Paul shows that the Christian teaching did not differ from the earlier Hebrew teaching, for he quotes Genesis 2. 7 in saying, "It is even so written. The first man Adam became a living soul Kenzo-san. The first man is out of the earth and made of dust." 1 Cor 15. 45-47. The Genesis account shows that a living soul results from the combination of the earthly body with the breath of life. The expression breath of the force of life literally, breath of the spirit, or active force ruach, of life Ge 7. 22 indicates that it is by breathing air with its oxygen that the life force, or spirit, in all creatures, man and animals, is sustained. This life force is found in every cell of the creature's body, as is discussed under life. Spirit. Since the term Nephesh refers to the creature itself, we should expect to find the normal physical functions or characteristics of fleshly creatures attributed to it. This is exactly the case. Nephesh soul is spoken of as eating flesh, fat, blood, or similar material things. 7. 18, 20, 25, 27. 17. 10, 12, 15. 23. 24. Being hungry for or craving food and drink. 12. 15, 20, 21. PS 107. 9. PR 19. 15. 27. 7. Isla 29. 8. 32. 6. Mix 7. 1. Being made fat. PR 11. 25. Fasting. PS 35. 13. Touching unclean things, such as a dead body. 5. 2. 7. 21. 17. 15. 22. 6. New 19. 13. Being seized as a pledge or being kidnapped. 24. 6, 7. Doing work. 23. 30. Being refreshed by cold water when tired. PR 25. 25. Being purchased. 22. 11. As 27. 13. Being given as a vow offering. 27. 2. Being put in irons. PS 105. 18. Being sleepless. PS 119. 28. And struggling for breath. 15. 9. It may be noted that in many texts reference is made to my soul, his or her soul, your soul, and so forth. This is because any efficiency middle.khe can mean one's own self as a soul. The sense of the term can therefore often be expressed in English by use of personal pronouns. Thus Lexicon in Vetris Testamenti Libros p. 627 shows that my any fish means ige 27. 4, 25. Issa 1. 14. Your singular any fish means thou or you ge 27. 19, 31. Issa 43. 4. 51. 23. His any fish means he, himself knew 30. 2. Issa 53. 10. Her any fish means she, herself knew 30. 5-12, and so forth. The Greek term middle.khe is used similarly. Vine's Expository Dictionary of Old and New Testament Words 1981, Volume 4, p. 54 says it may be used as the equivalent of the personal pronoun, used for emphasis and effect. First person, John 10. 24 us. Heb. 10. 38. CP. Compare General 12. 13. Num. 23. 10. Judd. 16. 30. PS. 120. To me. Second person, to core. 12. 15. Heb. 13. 17, and so forth. Represents life as a creature. Both any efficiency middle.khe are also used to mean life. Not merely as an abstract force or principle, but life as a creature, human or animal. Thus when Rachel was giving birth to Benjamin, her any fish soul, the life as a creature went out from her and she died. GE 35. 16-19 She ceased to be a living creature. Similarly, when the prophet Elijah performed a miracle regarding the dead son of the widow of Zarephath, the child's any-fish soul, the life as a creature came back into him and he came to life, was again a living creature. 1 Kai 17. 17-23. Because the creature's life is so inseparably connected with and dependent on bloodshed, blood standing for the life of the person or creature. GE 4. 10. 2 Kai 9. 26. PS 9. 12. Issa 26. 21. The scriptures speak of the any fish soul as being in the blood. GE 9. 4. La 17. 11, 14. La 12. 23. This is, obviously, not meant literally, inasmuch as the scriptures also speak of the blood of your souls. GE 9. 5. Compare J 2. 34 and the many references already considered could not reasonably be applied solely to the blood or its life-supporting o textui acute muritra longo. Sol 1007 Store such faithful one to life as a creature by means of the resurrection. For God's servants, the loss of their soul, the life as a creature, is only temporary, not permanent. Compare 12. 11. Mortal and destructible. On the other hand, Matthew 10. 28 states that God can destroy both soul middle.kin and body in Gehenna. This shows that middle.khe does not refer to something immortal or indestructible. There is, in fact, not one case in the entire scriptures, Hebrew and Greek, in which the words any fish or middle.khe are modified by terms such as immortal, indestructible, imperishable, deathless, or the like. See immortality. Incorruption. On the other hand, there are scores of texts in the Hebrew and Greek scriptures that speak of the any fish or middle.khe soul as mortal and subject to death. GE 19. 19, 20. New 23. 10. Jos 2. 13, 14. JG 5. 18. 16. 16, 30. 1 Kai 20. 31, 32. PS 22. 29. As 18. 4, 20. Mount 2. 20. 26. 38. Mr. 3. 4. Heb 10. 39. Jos 5. 20. As dying, being cut off or destroyed ge 17. 14. X 12. 15. The 7. 20. 23. 29. Jos 10. 28-39. PS 78. 50. S 13. 19. 22. 27. Act 3. 23. Re 8. 9. 16. 3. With the by sword Jos 10. 37. S 33. 6 or by suffocation Job 7. 15, or being in danger of death due to drowning John 2. 5. And also as going down into the pit or into Sheol Job 33. 22. PS 89. 48 or being delivered there from PS 16. 10. 30. 3. 49. 15. PR 23. 14. Dead soul. The expression deceased or dead soul also appears a number of times, meaning simply a dead person. The 19. 28. 21. 1, 11. 22. 4. New 5. 2. 6. 6. Hag 2. 13. Compare New 19. 11, 13. Desire. At times the word nefish is used to express the desire of the individual, one that fills him and then occupies him in achieving its goal. Proverbs 13. 2, for example, says of those dealing treacherously that their very soul is violence, that is, that they are all out for violence, in effect, become violence personified. Compare GE 34. 3, FTN. PS 27. 12. 35. 25. 41. 2. Israel's false shepherds are called dogs strong in soulful desire, who have known no satisfaction. Isra 56. 11, 12. Compare PR 23. 1-3. Hab 2. 5. Serving with one's whole soul. The soul basically means the entire person, as has been shown. Yet certain texts exhort us to seek for, love, and serve God with all our heart and all our soul. 4. 29. 11. 13, 18, while Deuteronomy 6. 5 says, You must love Jehovah your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your vital force. Jesus said it was necessary to serve with one's whole soul and strength and, additionally, with your whole mind. Mr. 12. 30. Lu 10. 27. The question arises as to why these other things are mentioned with the soul, since it embraces them all. To illustrate the probable meaning. A person might sell himself his soul into slavery to another, thereby becoming the possession of his owner and master. Yet he might not serve his master wholeheartedly, with full motivation and desire to please him, and thus he might not use his full strength or his full mental capacity to advance his master's interests. Compare F6. 5. Col 3. 22. Hence these other facets are evidently mentioned to focus attention on them so that we do not fail to remember and consider them in our service to God, to whom we belong, and to His Son, whose life was the ransom price that bought us. Whole-souled service to God involves the entire person, no bodily part, function, capacity, or desire being left out. Compare Mount 5. 28-30. Lu 21. 34-36. F6. 6-9. PHP 3. 19. Col 3. 23, 24. Soul and spirit are distinct. The spirit Heb. Ruach. Gr. Noimar should not be confused with the soul Heb. Nefish. Gr. Psych, for they refer to different things. Thus, Hebrews 4:12 speaks of the word of God as piercing even to the dividing of soul and spirit, and of joints in their marrow. Compare also PHP 1:27, 1th 5:23. As has been shown, the soleni fish. See middle.kh is the creature textoi acute muritra longo, Sipto 1008 Sado. A piece of dough that is set aside for a day or longer and allowed to sour or ferment. The Hebrew term so denotes such sado and means fermented or leavened mass. Sipto readily leavens new mixtures to which it is added. The Israelites used a sado in making leavened bread. The lump of dough preserved from a former baking was generally dissolved in water in the kneading trough prior to the adding of the flour, or it might be put in the flour and then kneaded along with it. The latter seems to be the method referred to by Jesus Christ when he said, "The kingdom of the heavens is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 large measures of flour, until the whole mass was fermented." Mount 13:33. Luke 13:20-21. Though there is no direct evidence, it has been suggested that the Jews also used wine dregs as yeast. Israel's grain offerings presented by fire to Jehovah were not to be made with sado. La 2:11. Also, the Israelites were expressly commanded not to have sado here, an apparent symbol of corruption and sin, in their homes or within the boundaries of their territory during the 7-day festival of unleavened bread. Acts 12:15, 13, 7. La 16. For anyone eating something leavened during that time was to be cut off from the assembly of Israel. Acts 12:19. In ancient Egypt it was also customary, when baking, to set aside some dough, to be used for leavening fresh dough. Even today, when the kneading of dough has been completed, some people of Cyprus, for instance, put aside a piece of dough in a warm place. After 36 to 48 hours it can be used to ferment an entire lump of new dough. Paul may have had sado in mind when he urged the Corinthians, "Clear away the old leaven men, that you may be a new lump, according as you are free from ferment." 1 Co 5:7. See leaven. South. See Negeb. Sovereignty. Supremacy and rule or power. The dominion or rule of a lord, king, emperor, or the like. The power that, in the final analyses, determines the government of a state. In the Hebrew scriptures the word adhomiddle.ne appears frequently, and the expression adhomiddle.ne 285 times. Adhomiddle.ne is a plural form of a middle.dawn, meaning Lord. Master. The plural form adhomiddle.ne may be applied to men in simple plurality, as lords, or masters. But the term adhomiddle.ne without an additional suffix is always used in the scriptures with reference to God, the plural being employed to denote excellence or majesty. It is most frequently rendered Lord by translators. When it appears with the name of God adhomiddle.ne, as, for example, at Psalm 73:28, the expression is translated Lord God at KJRS. Lord God Jai 72:28. Lord, my Master KX 72:28. Lord Jehovah Ig. Sovereign Lord Jehovah NW. In Psalms 47:9, 138, 5, 150. 2. Moffat uses the word sovereign, but not to translate adhomiddle.ne. The Greek word domiddle.spotes means one who possesses supreme authority, or absolute ownership and uncontrolled power. Vine's Expository Dictionary of Old and New Testament Words, 1981, Volume 3, pages 1846. It is translated Lord, Master, Owner, and when used in direct address to God is rendered Lord KJ, Ig, and others, Ruler of all KX, Sovereign Lord NW, at Luke 2:29, Acts 4:24, and Revelation 6:10. In the last text, Knox, the New English Bible, Moffat, and the Revised Standard Version read Sovereign Lord. Young's translation and the Kingdom Interlinear read Master. So, while the Hebrew and Greek texts do not have a separate qualifying word for sovereign, The flavor is contained in the words adho and the when they are used in the scriptures as applying to Jehovah God, the qualification denoting the excellence of his lordship. Jehovah's sovereignty. Jehovah God is the sovereign of the universe, sovereign of the world. PS 47. 9. Mo by reason of his creatorship, his godship, o textoi acute miritra longo. Sovereignty 1009. David was made king of Israel, and the scriptures speak of the kingdom of David as though it was his kingdom. But David acknowledged Jehovah as the great sovereign ruler, saying, Yours, O Jehovah, are the greatness and the mightiness and the beauty and the excellency and the dignity. For everything in the heavens and in the earth is yours. Yours is the kingdom, O Jehovah, the one also lifting yourself up as head over all. 1 Ch 29. 11. Earthly rulers. The rulers of the nations of earth exercise their limited rulership by the toleration or permission of the sovereign Lord Jehovah. That the political governments do not receive their authority from God, that is, that they are not acting by reason of any grant of authority or power from him, is shown at Revelation 13. 1, 2, where the seven-headed, ten-horned wild beast is said to get its power and its throne and great authority from the dragon, Satan the devil. Re 12. 9. Sea beasts, symbolic. So, while God has allowed various rulerships of men to come and go, one of their mighty kings, after having had demonstrated, in his own experience, the fact of Jehovah's sovereignty, was moved to say, his rulership is a rulership to time indefinite, and his kingdom is for generation after generation. And all the inhabitants of the earth are being considered as merely nothing, and he is doing according to his own will among the army of the heavens and the inhabitants of the earth. And there exists no one that can check his hand or that can say to him, What have you been doing? Darfur 34, 35. Accordingly, as long as it is God's will to permit man-made governments to rule, the Apostle Paul's injunction to Christians will apply. Let every soul be in subjection to the superior authorities, for there is no authority except by God. The existing authorities stand placed in their relative positions by God. The Apostle then goes on to point out that when such governments act to punish one who does what is bad, the superior authority or ruler, even though not a faithful worshipper of God, is acting indirectly as a minister of God in this particular capacity, expressing wrath upon the one practicing what is bad. Row 13. 1-6. As to such authorities being placed in their relative positions by God, the scriptures indicate that this does not mean that God formed these governments or that he backs them up. Rather, he has maneuvered them to suit his good purpose, with relation to his will concerning his servants in the earth. Moses said, When the Most High gave the nations an inheritance, when he parted the sons of Adam from one another, he proceeded to fix the boundary of the peoples with regard for the number of the sons of Israel. 32. 8. God's Son as King. Following the overthrow of the last king to sit on Jehovah's throne in Jerusalem 1 Ch 29. 23. The prophet Daniel was given a vision describing the future appointment of God's own Son to serve as king. Jehovah's position stands out clearly when he, as the Ancient of Days, grants rulership to his Son. The account states, I kept on beholding in the visions of the night, and, see there, with the clouds of the heavens someone like a son of man happened to be coming. And to the Ancient of Days he gained access, and they brought him up close even before that one. And to him there were given rulership and dignity and kingdom, that the peoples, national groups and languages should all serve even him. His rulership is an indefinitely lasting rulership that will not pass away, and his kingdom one that will not be brought to ruin. 7. 13, 14. A comparison of this text with Matthew 26. 63, 64 leaves no doubt that the Son of Man in Daniel's vision is Jesus Christ. He gains access to Jehovah's presence and is given rulership. Compare PS2. 8, 9. Mount 28. 18. Jehovah's sovereignty challenged. Wickedness has been in existence for nearly all the years that Bible chronology o textoi acute miritra longo. Sovereignty 1010 Mount 22. 37-39. They must love Jehovah's sovereignty. They must desire it and prefer it over any other. PS 84. 10. They must be persons that, even if it were possible for them to become independent, would choose his sovereignty, because they know that his rulership is far wiser, more righteous, and better than any other. Isra 55. 8-11. Ch 10. 23. Row 7. 18. Such persons serve God not merely because of fear of his almightiness, nor for selfish reasons, but out of love of his righteousness, justice, and wisdom, and because of having the knowledge of Jehovah's greatness and loving kindness. PS 97. 10. 119. 104, 128, 163. They exclaim with the Apostle Paul, "Oh, the depth of God's riches and wisdom and knowledge! How unsearchable his judgments are and past tracing out his ways are! For who has come to know Jehovah's mind, or who has become his counselor? Or, who has first given to him, so that it must be repaid to him? Because from him and by him and for him are all things. To him be the glory forever. Amen." Row 11. 33-36. Such ones come to know God, and really knowing him means to love him and stick to his sovereignty. The Apostle John writes, "Everyone remaining in union with him does not practice sin. No one that practices sin has either seen him or come to know him. And he that does not love has not come to know God, because God is love." 1 John 3. 6. 4. 8. Jesus knew his Father better than anyone else. He said, "All things have been delivered to me by my Father, and no one fully knows the Son but the Father, neither does anyone fully know the Father but the Son and anyone to whom the Son is willing to reveal him." Mount 11. 27. A failure to develop love and appreciation. Consequently, when the challenge was hurled against Jehovah's sovereignty, it came from one who, although enjoying the benefits of God's sovereignty, did not appreciate and develop the knowledge of God and thereby deepen his love for him. This one was a spirit creature of God, an angel. When the human pair Adam and Eve were put on earth, this one saw an opportunity to set out on an attack on God's sovereignty. First, he would make an attempt which proved successfully to turn Eve, then Adam, away from subjection to God's sovereignty. He hoped to establish a rival sovereignty. As for Eve, the person approached first, she certainly had not appreciated her Creator and God, and she had not taken advantage of her opportunity to know him. She listened to the voice of an inferior, ostensibly the serpent, actually the rebellious angel. The Bible does not allude to any surprise on her part at hearing the serpent talk. It does say that the serpent was the most cautious of all the wild beasts of the field that Jehovah God had made. Ge 3. 1. Whether it ate of the forbidden fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and bad and then appeared to be made wise, able to speak, is not stated. The rebellious angel, using the serpent to speak to her, presented as she supposed the opportunity to become independent, to be like God, knowing good and bad, and succeeded in convincing her that she would not die. Ge 2. 17. 3. 4, 5. 2 Co 11. 3. Adam, who also showed no appreciation and love for his Creator and Provider when faced with rebellion in his household, and who showed no loyalty to stand up for his God when put to the test, succumbed to Eve's persuasiveness. He evidently lost faith in God and his ability to provide all good things for his loyal servant. Compare what Jehovah said to David after his sin with Bathsheba, at 2 Samuel 12. 7-9. Adam also seemed to be taking offense against Jehovah, as is indicated by his reply when questioned about his wrong act. "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me fruit from the tree and so I ate." Ge 3. 12. He did not believe the serpent's lie that he would not die, as Eve had, but both Adam and Eve deliberately went in a course of self-determination, rebellion against o textoi acute miritra longo, sovereignty 1011 or not. An indication of this is the approach to Eve. Is it really so that God said you must not eat from every tree of the garden? Here the serpent intimated that such a thing was unbelievable. That God was unduly restrictive, withholding something that was the rightful due of the human pair. Ge 3. 1. What was the tree of the knowledge of good and bad? By taking of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, Adam and Eve expressed their rebellion. The Creator, as universal sovereign, was acting wholly within his right in making the law regarding the tree, for Adam, being a created person, and not sovereign, had limitations, and he needed to acknowledge this fact. For universal peace and harmony, it would devolve upon all reasoning creatures to acknowledge and support the Creator's sovereignty. Adam would demonstrate his recognition of this fact by refraining from eating the fruit of that tree. As father to be of an earth full of people, he must prove obedient and loyal, even in the smallest thing. The principle involved was, the person faithful in what is least is faithful also in much, and the person unrighteous in what is least is unrighteous also in much. Luke 16:10 Adam had the capability for such perfect obedience. There was evidently nothing bad intrinsically in the fruit of the tree itself. The thing forbidden was not sex relations, for God had commanded the pair to fill the earth. G 1:28 It was the fruit of an actual tree, as the Bible says. What was represented by the tree is well expressed in a footnote on Genesis 2:17, in the Jerusalem Bible 1966. This knowledge is a privilege which God reserves to himself and which man, by sinning, is to lay hands on. 3:5:22. Hence it does not mean omniscience, which fallen man does not possess. Nor is it moral discrimination, for unfallen man already had it and God could not refuse it to a rational being. It is the power of deciding for himself what is good and what is evil and of acting accordingly, a claim to complete moral independence by which man refuses to recognize his status as a created being. The first sin was an attack on God's sovereignty, a sin of pride. God's servants charged with selfishness. A further expression of the issue is found in Satan's statement to God about his faithful servant Job. Satan said, "Is it for nothing that Job has feared God? Have not you yourself put up a hedge about him and about his house and about everything that he is all around? The work of his hands you have blessed, and his livestock itself has spread abroad in the earth. But, for a change, thrust out your hand, please, and touch everything he is and see whether he will not curse you to your very face." Again, he charged, "Skin in behalf of skin, and everything that a man has he will give in behalf of his soul." Job 1:9-11. 2. For Satan therewith charged Job with being not in harmony with God at heart, as serving God obediently only because of selfish considerations, for gain. Satan thereby slandered God as to his sovereignty, and God's servants as to integrity to that sovereignty. He said, in effect, that no man could be put on earth who would maintain integrity to Jehovah's sovereignty if he, Satan, was allowed to put him to the test. Jehovah permitted the issue to be joined. Not, however, because he was unsure of the righteousness of his own sovereignty. He needed nothing proved to himself. It was out of love for his intelligent creatures that he allowed time for the testing out of the matter. He permitted men to undergo a test by Satan, before all the universe. And he gave his creatures the privilege of proving the devil a liar, and of removing the slanderer textually acute miritra longo. So 1012 men's minds, Jehovah's power or even his existence has at times been questioned. 1 Joe 5:19. Re 12. 9 men have mistaken the reason for God's patience and kindness and have themselves become more rebellious. EC 8:11. 2 P 3:9. Because of this, it has taken faith, along with suffering, to serve God with integrity. Heb 11:6-35-38. Nevertheless, Jehovah purposes to make his sovereignty and his name known to all. In Egypt he said to Pharaoh, "In fact, for this cause I have kept you in existence, for the sake of showing you my power and in order to have my name declared in all the earth." X 9:16. Likewise God has allowed a time for this world and its god, Satan the devil, to exist and develop in their wickedness, and he has set a time for their destruction. 2 Co 4. 2 P 3:7. The prophetic prayer of the psalmist was, "That people may know that you, whose name is Jehovah, you alone are the most high over all the earth." PS 83:18. Jehovah himself has sworn, "To me every knee will bend down, every tongue will swear, saying, surely in Jehovah there are full righteousness and strength." Isra 45:23-24. How far the issue reached. How far-reaching was the issue? Since man had been induced to sin, and since an angel had sinned, the question reached up to and included God's heavenly creatures, even God's only begotten Son, the one closest to Jehovah God. This one, who always did the things pleasing to his Father, would be most anxious to serve for the vindication of Jehovah's sovereignty. Job 8:29. Heb 1:9. God selected him for this assignment, sending him to the earth, where he was born as a male child through the Virgin Mary. Luke 1:35. He was perfect, and he maintained that perfection and blamelessness throughout his life, even to a disgraceful death. Heb 7:26. Before his death he said, "Now there is a judging of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be cast out. Also, the ruler of the world is coming, and he has no hold on me." Job 12:31. 14:30. Satan could get no hold so as to break Christ's integrity, and he was judged as having failed, ready to be cast out. Jesus conquered the world. Job 16:33. Jesus Christ, vindicator of the righteousness of Jehovah's sovereignty. So Jesus Christ, in a totally perfect way, proved the devil a liar, completely settling the question, will any man be faithfully to God under whatever test or trial may be brought against him? Jesus therefore was appointed by the sovereign God as the executor of his purposes, the one to be used to destroy wickedness, including the devil, from the universe. This authority he will exercise, and every knee will bend and every tongue openly acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of God the Father. PHP 2:5-11. Heb 2:14. 1 Job 3:8. In the dominion granted the Son, he rules in his Father's name, bringing to nothing all government and all authority and power that stand against Jehovah's sovereignty. The Apostle Paul reveals that Jesus Christ then offers the greatest tribute to Jehovah's sovereignty, for, when all things will have been subjected to him, then the Son himself will also subject himself to the one who subjected all things to him, that God may be all things to everyone. 1 Cor 15:24-28. The book of Revelation shows that after the end of Christ's 1,000-year reign, in which he puts down all authority that attempts to rival Jehovah's sovereignty, the devil will be loosed for a short time. He will try to revive the issue, but no long grant of time will be given for that which is already settled. Satan and those following him will be completely annihilated. Read 20:7-10. Others who uphold Jehovah's side. Though Christ's faithfulness thoroughly proved God's side of the issue, others are permitted to share in this. PR 27:11. The effects of Christ's integrity keeping course, including his sacrificial death, are pointed out by the Apostle. Through one act of justification o texto e acute miritra longo, soa, sowing 1013 Jehovah's blessing. Jehovah is the one providing the seed and the growing process, as well as the sunshine and rain, by which the field produces many times the quantity that is planted. 2 Sa 23:3-4. Isra 55:10. All mankind, whether righteous or wicked, thus receive benefits from the Creator. Mount 5:45. Act 14:15-17. However, Jehovah God does not generally exercise specific control over the factors that make growth possible. Thus wicked persons at times may enjoy a bountiful harvest, whereas righteous ones, because of experiencing unfavorable conditions, may have a crop failure. Compare Job 21:7-24. On the other hand, when it suits his purpose, Jehovah can bless the sower and bring him abundant crops, or he can cause a scarcity of fruitage, depending upon the sower's faithfulness and obedience to him. For example, Jehovah purposed to make Israel a great and numerous nation in the promised land, so he blessed his obedient servants bountifully. When Isaac was sojourning in Canaan, even though he was harassed by the natives of the land, Jehovah blessed him so that his sowing resulted in a harvest of up to 100 measures from one measure sown. GE 26:12. The spiritual condition of Israel determined the kind of harvest they received. Jehovah said to them before they entered the promised land, "If you continue walking in my statutes and keeping my commandments, and you do carry them out, your threshing will certainly reach to your grape gathering, and the grape gathering will reach to the sowing of seed." the crops would be so bountiful that the harvest would not be finished before the time to sow the next crop. Compare Am 9:13. On the other hand, God warned, "If you will not listen to me nor do all these commandments,